Rabindranath Tagore's novel Home and the World, Gare Bear, written in 1916, is a profound exploration of the internal and external conflicts that shaped Indian society during the colonial period. Set against the backdrop of the Swadeshi movement, which aimed to foster Indian self-reliance and resist British colonial rule, the novel weaves a complex narrative of nationalism, identity, and personal relationships. Through its nuanced portrayal of the emotional and intellectual struggles of its characters, Tagore offers a critique of political ideologies and the impact of these movements on individual lives. At its core, Home and the World revolves around three central characters: Nikhil, his wife Bimala, and the charismatic revolutionary Sandip. The novel explores the tension between idealism and pragmatism, tradition and progress, and personal freedom versus duty. Through these characters, Tagore delves into the moral and philosophical questions surrounding nationalism, social change, and the role of women in society. The setting: colonial Bengal and the Swadeshi movement. Home and the World is set in the early 20th century, a period marked by the rise of the Swadeshi movement, which sought to promote Indian self-sufficiency by boycotting British goods and encouraging the use of domestic products. The movement was deeply entwined with the broader struggle for independence and emerged as a response to the partition of Bengal in 1905 by the British colonial government. This context plays a significant role in the narrative of Home and the World, as the characters grapple with the political climate of the time. Tagore uses the backdrop of the Swadeshi movement not only to depict the socio-political landscape of colonial Bengal but also to critique the methods and motivations behind nationalist fervor. The novel challenges the simplistic view of nationalism as a monolithic force, presenting it instead as a multifaceted and sometimes dangerous ideology. The characters: nationalism, idealism, and personal conflict. Nikhil, the protagonist of the novel, represents the ideal of reasoned and peaceful nationalism. He is a progressive, intellectual, and compassionate man who believes that true liberation lies in self-cultivation and moral integrity rather than in violent struggle or political agitation. Nikhil's commitment to these ideals leads him to resist the extreme nationalism of the time, which he sees as divisive and destructive. He believes in the importance of personal freedom and the protection of individual rights, even when it comes at the cost of political action. Nikhil's views on nationalism are often contrasted with the more radical stance of his friend, Sandip. Sandip, the antithesis of Nikhil, embodies the fiery, passionate, and aggressive side of nationalism. Charismatic and eloquent, Sandip is a leader of the Swadeshi movement who believes that the use of force is necessary to achieve political liberation. He sees the struggle against British rule as a holy war, one that justifies any means, including violence and manipulation. Sandip's allure lies in his ability to inspire and motivate people, but his character is also portrayed as self-serving, egotistical, and manipulative. His radicalism threatens the stability of Nikhil's world, particularly in his relationship with Bimala. Bimala, the third central character, represents the tension between tradition and modernity, the personal and the political. She begins the novel as a submissive, sheltered wife, deeply loyal to her husband Nikhil. However, when Sandip enters their lives, Bimala becomes captivated by his passionate nationalism and his sense of purpose. She finds herself torn between her love and respect for Nikhil, her sense of duty as his wife, and her growing attraction to Sandip's revolutionary ideals. Bimala's internal struggle reflects the broader struggle of Indian women at the time, as they sought to navigate the conflicting demands of tradition and modernity, personal desires, and societal expectations. Bimala's transformation is a key aspect of the novel. Initially, she is presented as innocent and naive, confined within the domestic sphere. However, through her interactions with Sandip, she begins to experience a sense of freedom and empowerment. Sandip's radicalism offers her a way to break free from the constraints of her domestic life. Yet, as she becomes more entangled in the political turmoil, she also becomes aware of the dangers of the revolution and the potential destruction it can bring. Her journey represents the complex role of women in the nationalistic movement and the ways in which political ideologies can both liberate and constrain. Themes and symbolism: the tension between the public and the private. One of the central themes of Home and the World is the tension between the personal and the political. Tagore uses the private sphere of the home to symbolize peace, harmony, and intellectual pursuit, while the public sphere of the world outside represents the chaotic, turbulent, and often violent struggle for national independence. This juxtaposition is embodied in the novel's title, which contrasts the comfort and security of the home with the upheaval and conflict of the world. Tagore is critical of the way in which political movements often encroach upon the private lives of individuals, particularly women. Bimala's experience is a reflection of this larger cultural shift, as her personal desires and autonomy are increasingly influenced by political ideologies. The novel explores how the public world can disrupt the private, especially for women, and how the larger political struggle often ignores the complexities of personal relationships. Another important theme in Home and the World is the moral ambiguity of nationalism. Tagore critiques both the idealism of Nikhil and the radicalism of Sandip. Nikhil's passive resistance to colonialism is not portrayed as a perfect solution, as it seems disconnected from the urgent reality of political oppression. On the other hand, Sandip's passionate call to arms is shown to be morally questionable, as it leads to violence and manipulation. Tagore suggests that both extremes of political thought are flawed and that true progress lies in moderation, empathy, and intellectual engagement. Conclusion: a reflection on nationalism and humanity. Rabindranath Tagore's Home and the World remains a timeless exploration of the complexities of human nature, politics, and identity. By presenting characters who are torn between conflicting ideals, Tagore raises important questions about the nature of nationalism, the impact of political movements on personal lives, and the search for a meaningful and harmonious existence. Through the intimate drama of Nikhil, Bimala, and Sandip, Tagore presents a powerful critique of the dangers of extremism, the challenges of personal freedom, and the necessity of understanding and compassion in times of national crisis. The novel serves as a reminder that political movements and ideologies should not be embraced uncritically, but rather examined for their impact on both the individual and the collective. Home and the World calls for a more humane and balanced approach to life, one that recognizes the complexities of human desires, relationships, and the world beyond the home.